So this is my first editing tutorial with this little video that I made over Christmas with my sister and her family. Playing ice hockey on the frozen lake in Wisconsin. Took the GoPro out, wasn't wearing skates because I'm a terrible ice skater. I didn't feel like playing hockey, so I just kind of stood in the middle of this little pickup game. Had a couple of problems with the light. The light was waning, so it was changing really quickly. And then when I looked at the footage, I noticed that when I started versus another cut towards the end, when the sun was almost down, were very different in exposure, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time, color correcting, and because this is just a one-off sort of experiment. I didn't do very much editing with it. Just stuck it to a piece of music and threw it together. But there's a method in this that I like to use that works really quickly. For example, this shot right here. You can see I've got this this clip doubled up on itself. And like I say, I was experimenting with different camera speeds and cutting from 240 frames per second down to 30 frames per second in Premiere. And just learning more about how the camera works and what you can do with it. This clip right here was towards the end. So you've got this doubled up, stacked clip here on top of one another with the blend mode over here on screen. Without this blend mode on screen, the footage looks like that. And as an offline editor, I don't do a lot of color correcting. That's left up to the finishers 99% of the time, who do it to broadcast specs. So that's not something that I have to worry about very often. But for something like this, when you're going from, say, a shot from here of Dunkle Doug, as the kids call him when they were little. They couldn't say Uncle Doug. They'd get tongue-tied and called him Dunkle Doug, so we still call him Dunkle Doug. At the beginning of the game to here, that's not very pleasing. So I'll go through the process. Clicking on the clip and hitting Shift-Option at the same time, and dragging up to the other video track, you've now got instantaneously a duplicate of this clip without having to put in and out point, etc. Then you simply click on that clip, go to Effects Controls, Blend Mode, Screen, and then this is just a quick fix for kind of eye matching shot-to-shot stuff. That's a little bit too bright. Go to Opacity, knock it down 30%, the top one. I'm scaling frame to size so it fits at 1920 by 1080. That's good enough for our purposes. There's a dark shot, but I'm leaving that. This one was also doubled. If you look at this, and I take the effect off, that's the original. Here's with the blend mode set at screen and 70%. A little brighter than this previous one, but it's close enough for me. I don't care right now. That one's a little bit dark. That one's a little bit dark. So let's try to match this one with this of the neighbor kid Ryan, who's actually a really good hockey player. So I'm choosing the top one on the stack, going over to blend mode. I don't even have to add any effects here. Hit screen. Notice that the brightness is a little bit too bright compared to the next shot. So knock that down to 70%. Boom. Yeah, now it's a little bit too bright compared to the ones around it. Knock that down to 60%. Whoops, didn't do it. Okay, knock that down to 60%. I mean, there's no continuity on this thing at all. It's impossible to get continuity, and I'm not going to try to fake it because it's too much work. I don't have the time. And there's the same sort of playing around with different speeds. If you're shooting at 240 frames per second, you can do this and have it be really smooth. So anyway, I did that through this whole section right here. See the action a little bit better and match shots that are exposed differently due to the light. Here's another example of the original versus the blend mode on screen. Anyway, that's an easy way to get a little bit more detail in your shots when the light is low and try to match a time of day from when you first started shooting. I'm sure there's different ways to solve this problem. I mean, the best idea is probably to shoot it properly when you're out actually shooting, but for my intents and purposes, this is fine.